Yes.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Let the Story Write Itself. Today, I wanted to share more about deepening that self-trust and how this came about for me through a journey that led me to move around the world essentially on a almost 2-year around the world trip. And really, at core, this journey was about learning to surrender, to simply allow, to live in that state of self trust and intuition and inner compass alignment, which I had kind of strayed from when I had dishonored that voice within telling me go travel when I was 17 and instead went to university despite how ill at ease I felt. It was just such a core misalignment for me that I really, in a way, betrayed myself during that period of life by doing something that I knew, like, those moments where you just know, you just feel it, but you maybe override it with your logic or external thoughts or opinions or other people, or even just out of sheer lack of focus, like distraction, right? So sometimes you feel something, but how do you actually take that to heart? Do you actually go and do something about it? Just that willpower to make a change sometimes. Sometimes just defaulting to what is convenient, what is so-called normal, or just what is already there presented. And so, I kind of fell into university, had a like one of those RSPs, which like an education fund saved for me. So it's just kind of like a no-brainer in that sense. Like, okay, well, why would you not just go? And like, well, you just need to go because you have this fund saved for you. And it's just kind of like the next logical step right after high school. And I had always considered like I would really love to do one of those gap year programs or even just take a year off or just see what unfolds. And that really would have been like the path of intuition. And sometimes there's a fear in society, or there's a certain fear and a mindset of lack or scarcity. Sometimes I think that like has been prevalent at times or gets circulated. And I think that is where that hesitation or even that confusion or that pulling away from what you know innately, I do feel like when you're born, you have an innate like compass, you have an innate sense of direction, like that intuitive pull. And it somehow gets overridden by, you know, instead of just allowing that natural pull, like other elements in nature, a flower simply grows, a tree simply goes to fruition. Things of that nature, birds just know how to migrate. And humans, I think, sometimes, I don't know, it's like a program or a conditioning of the mind, or even like you can be led astray somehow, almost like a brainwashing. So even though at 17, I'm very intuitive, I have that inner voice, go travel, it's like somehow don't even know what to do with it. I'm like, oh, like I don't even know how to necessarily voice it. I don't even know how to trust that voice, say. And even if I do think, well, I need to just not go to university, there's a little bit of opposition, a little bit of a clap back, if you will, from the outer world where you might feel like you're doing something wrong for going against what the majority would believe. And so somehow I just kind of kept myself in the state of doing something just didn't feel right, didn't feel good, went against my own inner compass, right? And this is obviously not to say that everyone's path is going to lead you, whether it's to university or a gap year or travel, or, everybody's path is going to be unique to themselves, which is why it's not a one size fits all. And it's also not like one person's path is going to superimpose on another's path. So just because university was not right for me, it doesn't mean that it's not aligned for someone else, right? So that's the thing. I'm not saying that university is not the right path for someone else. I'm saying for me, it wasn't. And I could feel that. And intuition was telling me that. And it was pulling me to a different direction. And somehow, you know, and this could be any combination. For someone else, it could be a different situation where they're in a situation that just kind of happened, or it was like default, or something just convenient, or somehow something that they realize it's like a struggle where, well, now you're feeling like this isn't right, but how do I get out of it? So there's this situation of feeling almost stuck, and yet the stuckness is really in your own mind. And it's interesting because even if you feel the pull, like, you wonder, what are the forces? Like, what are the reasons why you might not do the thing that you feel called? And it's really this idea of self-trust. Like, how much of a relationship do you have with your own inner being? And how much do you trust, have faith in that, the unseen, in a way? Because a lot of times it's a feeling, it's an intangible, like, thought, an intangible download of sorts. You get a whisper, a nudge, a calling. It's like a lot of times you probably have had this feeling of like an inner knowing, or just like a this sensation. For me, a lot of times the intuitive sensation for me is like this really warm sensation, like you say in the pit of like my stomach or something, or just like a very core feeling of like warmth, or like a certain energy of very intense, like sunshine kind of thing, like starting from like a nucleus. And it's like it feels, it's like a sensation of you, like you just feel like there's an inner knowing, or a feeling of a knowing, or a remembrance of some sort. And so it's not something that you can logically, or say reasonably, be like, well, this and this and that, because there's no particular reason. There's no human made terms that you can really describe it. You just know it. You just feel it. You just can sense it. And this is your inner compass. That is, you have a direction for your life. When you come out of your mother's womb, you cut the umbilical cord, but you're still energetically connected to the universe, to your soul, to your, where, the source where you came from. And this is where your spirituality is heightened, because you're like, yeah, you're not just a body, you're like a spiritual being in a body. So obviously you would have this spiritual dimension that exists outside of the physical field, and it's more of an energetic field where you are able to sense in non-human terms, like just ideas and nudges and soul whispers that are still almost like an umbilical cord feeding you and guiding you and nurturing you. And the question is, like, why sometimes do humans get so disconnected from this innate sense of safety and belonging and security that they had for the 9 months they are in their mother's womb? And even, before that, like, how did you come to be in your mother's womb? Sometimes it's like, do you choose your mother? Do you choose your circumstances of your birth? And, is that also part of your story and your journey and such? Because I certainly, for me at least, I feel like I chose my parents. I chose the circumstances of where my birth and my experiences throughout life. I do feel like that's all part of what my soul chose in this lifetime. And it really does kind of interconnect with the bigger picture. So it's really this feeling of deep self-trust, where you are able to tune in to something beyond the human form. And this is where you really do have to detach a bit from maybe society, or even just the practical day-to-day things, like what you might call the 3D, things that you can only see on a very physical level, and go beyond that into a little bit more of the supernatural, intuitive realm. you know, it's like having that sixth sense, that third eye quality, that higher mind, higher self, like energetic aura where you are able to, it's like the fifth dimension. It's like more tapping into your psychic senses. And, in some ways you are probably clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, the five clairs essentially. There are different ways that intuition speaks to you, that your higher self speaks to you, that your spirit is connecting with you. And once I started, you know, trusting this more and shifting more into operating from this sense of being supported and knowing that I was always being guided by the universe, the more I was able to simply trust and like surrender these inner voices, because I would always have like these nudges and like these knowings and these prompts. So that was not really, that's not an issue. It's kind of like I have this guidance. It's just the question is, am I actually listening? Am I following it? Am I tuning in? Am I taking the action that it's giving me the giving me the prompt to take, right? So the times when I had the prompt, like don't go to uni, go travel instead, or just just withdraw, just give yourself space and just see what happens. And I didn't do that. I almost like overrided it. I ignored it. I bypassed it. I didn't take the action. I didn't choose that to listen. I mean, I listened, but I didn't choose to take action on what I heard. So it was like that non-self-trust, because even though I had that voice, and it's funny because at 17 it's like I didn't really know necessarily what that voice was, but it's like I still very distinctly remember it like it was yesterday. It's so clear. It's so interesting how intuition is like a clear, precise, highly like distinct. It's so distinct from your everyday thought because it's something that comes in like so sharp and clean and almost separated from your everyday thoughts, because it's usually something that you yourself are not normally thinking. When it gave me the idea go travel, I never thought of that in my conscious mind. I never in my egoic self really had this even the desire like, oh, I really want to travel. Like I never really had that egoic desire in that sense. And or even that conscious like, oh, must do this. Like that's why it was so like it was like this feeling of warmth that was like feeling like it's for you, like this feeling of knowing, like a remembering. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, that actually feels so familiar. Like it feels like home right now. It feels like real. And yet it's just this idea, like, but what does it mean? Like, what do I actually do with it? I don't know what that, like who, what, where, why, like what's the practical steps of implementing this and what in actual world I'm only 17. Like I've never been anywhere by myself really. I'm still getting driven everywhere, living at home, don't even cook for myself. You know what I mean? So it's just this odd discrepancy sometimes from like the three. It's almost like the dream-like state sometimes where you emerge from a dream, or that early morning hours where you're, whatever brain waves your mind goes into, and you're just like in this almost like fluid, however you want to just like a dreamy quality where it's like you're very intuitive. It's like there's a mind state where somehow, it's like messages just come to you. When you sometimes have a dream and it's like very metaphorical, or it kind of just speaks to you on a soul level, but you can't necessarily describe it in words, but just something there like touches you, like it touches your soul, like emotionally or something. And suddenly it's like you just have like sudden clarity or insight on something, or there's like a sudden truth is revealed. And a lot of times that's what that remembrance is, because intuition is coming from that soul state where you having to decipher it from not really a human perspective, you having to interpret it based on a more supernatural in a supernatural sense. So a lot of times it comes in the form of sensation. And so, sometimes when you're in this dreamlike quality and then, you wake up and then suddenly all the distractions of the day come in, you're going about all the practical day-to-day things, and then you're like a different dimension in a sense. Like you become a lot more in that state of like maybe not the word mundane, but it's just like very much more like, okay, maybe you have some chores to do, doing some errands. Okay, you have more to-do list. Like it's very like human, like like 3D centered type of things. Like you're no longer in this almost like dream-like state when you first emerge from sleep. And it's those brain waves that sometimes I feel like if I could just bottle it up and like tap into that at will, that would be like magic. And my that would be like my dream because that's the state that I love to exist in. It's a state where I feel is like so much more real sometimes than the things that you do on like a surface level. It's like the depths that are, it's like the undertone, it's like the underlying emotion or feeling, or that the underlying message or story that's really happening beneath the stuff that's happening on the surface. So I think sometimes you can tap into this, say when you're in the shower. Some people do it when they're driving, they get into this meditative state. Sometimes it's through fitness or something, you get in the zone or something. Whatever flow state, sometimes you can tap into that. I think that's really where a lot of times you have been in that state at particular moments, and it's like this ebb and flow. Like, you're not always going to be in that state. That's like a highly it's like a special some special moments throughout the day where it's like, how long can you make that last for before, like the noise of the outside world kind of creeps in, and then you're just like watching a show or looking at your phone or talking to somebody or something, and then you're not quite as connected. But if you're able to kind of hold that underlying vibe or that feeling where you're like connected to that intuitive state for the most part, at least like to some degree throughout your moments, and then at some moments it's like a lot more intense, or you're a lot more in it, whereas maybe at other points it's more loosely held. So this intuitive state of mind really is where that self-trust is is held and is able to be strength and like come to fruition, and that you're able to put it into practice. And for me, when I have gone on this round the world adventure that really kind of, I guess, would say started with like little things at first, like just going to this 10-day Vipassana retreat, and then being drawn to, say, some solo travels, and then kind of just hopping from job to job and just not really like knowing, like allowing myself that freedom to experience and not be locked in or committed, and simply not doing what I did at 17, which was going to you know, doing a undergrad degree that essentially like held me to many years of that feeling of being out of alignment. So really at this time, like allowing myself more of that ability to allow in that space and intuition to become more predominant in my life. And that's really where I began unraveling a little bit more. And then, at some point, took a one-way train from Vancouver to Toronto. And really, I feel like that was the pinnacle where I had really kind of just made the almost final detachment from that idea that I'm going to be in employment or education of sorts, and be like, no, actually, I realize now I don't see this as the path of certainty. I don't see this as the only two paths now. I'm like, this actually doesn't make sense to me. So it was almost like breaking out of that illusion that for some reason had been in my mind for so long, that finally I was like, you know what? Why is choosing my joy not more real? Why isn't that more real? So that became more my priority. Like, how do I actually feel about this? And that's an element of self-trust. It's like knowing how you feel, that awareness, that cognizance, that deepening of your own bodily sensation, that ability to feel, that you can now pinpoint these emotions in your body and be like, you know what, this actually makes me feel this way. So when you're able to say, this makes me feel joy, this makes me feel excitement, upliftment, something like that, whereas versus something else, then really you've come to the point where you're able to decipher, like, okay, wait a minute. So why is this not more important or more real than, say, like the things I quote unquote should do, or that are deemed more acceptable or safe or secure, which is more just a mental concept than actual truth, right? So there's this like illusionary quality sometimes in like these mental constructs of like social mental constructs, whatever, of like what is meant to be acceptable or secure or certain or more whatever, deemed more successful, or any adjective you want to put there. So for me, this was really the conversation I had mostly with myself at this point, where I'm like making the decision. Do I stay in Vancouver and continue with like education and employment and like other activities that I'm already involved in? Or do I break free in a sense and like listen to my intuition this time and just go with this calling where I'm like, I have no clue what it means. I don't even have a logical reason why I'm being called to go to Toronto of all places. Like I have no conscious desire to go there. And in fact, it's telling me to take a freaking train instead of a plane. So that was an interesting part of it. Like taking the 4-day train as a journey in itself rather than just taking a plane, right? So that in itself showed me that it's not just about the destination. I mean, obviously, I'm just kind of saying something cliche here, but it's obviously about the journey itself. And the fact that this came in very clearly to me, it's like, don't take the plane, take the train. And it ended up being like 4-day journey across Canada from Vancouver to Toronto. And then in Toronto, I'm like called to stay there for a month and like don't even have a return ticket because I don't feel the pull to make a return ticket. So I'm just there on like an open-ended like stay. I have no clue what's going on or why. And then I just have to, it's like this practice in self-trust. It's like I literally just have to self-trust myself at this point. Or trust like that intuitive call. So it's this almost it was this journey of self-trust essentially. It was not about the particular destination or the places I went or even the travel. It was this, do you trust yourself enough to move as you're being called? Do you trust enough to allow to listen to that calling that you feel inside? And each time I did that, it was like this feeling of like locking it in. It was like this feeling of like, yes, yes, I'm in alignment. It felt right. Like it just felt right. And, it was just total contrast to what I felt at university or even like all the jobs that I would hop around between because I just couldn't stay in any one. It just was, it just wouldn't stick, right? And then suddenly it was just like this feeling of locking, of being in alignment. It's like a puzzle piece just fitting in perfectly. I'm like, oh my God, I just feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. And soul somehow is just calling me to all the places that I need to go. And somehow it's like almost like just kind of converging. Like the places I would go, it was like a certain flow and there was a certain ease about it. Like there's a certain energy of magic where I didn't feel like I was planning it. I didn't feel like I had to effort it. I felt like I didn't feel like I had to do certain things. Like the ideas would come to me and I would just follow it. I just allow it to go. And then as I would do it, it was just like more ideas would come and then the next thing would come and then next thing I know, I'm being called to go to Spain. And then I do that. And then I am now at the story, at the part of the story where I'm like, I'm going from Toronto to Spain. And now, if you think about it, I had just had an experience of 1 month in Toronto, which I'd never really lived in or visited before. And it was like a month of feeling like untethering. So it's like I was not in this I was not there just like, oh, I'm here for work, or I'm here for education, or I'm here to travel, or do this, or any specific thing. It was just simply being in the moment. It was just simply allowing this journey to unfold. So it was like a very almost like in between state. Like I actually felt like I was on, platform 3 and 4/4 at Harry Potter, a train station. It really had that almost like this feeling of about to embark on an adventure. Like if I were to describe it in words, it was like I I've always thought of Toronto as just kind of like this concrete jungle. Like I never really had this pull to go there. But during this month that I was there, and even the journey there on the train, it just felt so like an element of magic, like this element of ease. And I always look back on it so fondly because I'm like, wow, like if I just went for no reason, like any other time, just like my egoic mind, like, I'm just going to go to Toronto, it would just feel probably like really empty or hollow or like meaningless. Like there would be no reason for me to go there or be there. So that's a totally different situation than when I have this pull, I have this inner idea, this inner nudge, this whisper. It's like the magic from this universe, your soul being like, come now, come in here. I have something for you. And that's what lends the magic. It has to be from your soul. And so it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just in a city or whatever. I'm just in another big city. No, it's like I was just being it was like almost like a gift because then I was just like, by the waterfront and I was like in a really social environment and I was like in this like I just had like so much like wonder and awe and like and magic and a feeling of forward motion. So it was like, okay, this is like in preparation, something about this particular piece of time here where you're preparing yourself to deepen that self-trust and to continue further. And so this was really a moment where I was not only untethering and on a practical level unlocking my phone and of that nature and such, it was also this idea like, okay, I'm going to go abroad internationally. Because, even if I'm just like in the same country but in a different province, it still feels like an element of familiarity. I am still able to just, in a way, go about day-to-day tasks like I would in my home province or something. It didn't feel that foreign or outside my comfort zone. So now I was called to go even further out of my comfort zone. And so it required another level of self-trust. And this was the crux of the journey, where it was like being called to deeper and deeper levels of self-trust at every moment of the journey. And like each stage of the journey would just evolve and unfold. And and this is where I really came to practice more this truly living in the moment, not planning per se, not even needing to book return tickets. And this letting go of this notion that I had to know in advance. And this almost like this mental construct sometimes is a bit of a mind trap that you have to know, or you have to, almost like this insecurity or this feeling of scarcity or this underlying fear, like, oh my gosh, like you're holding so tightly to a way of being. And it's like I really almost like unraveled that, like untethered from it. I let that go essentially. And it's like I became so much more in trust and in flow with the universe. And it's like I can feel, even just like in my heart and my spirit, just how much different I feel, say, from when I was in my 20s, even, where a lot of times, whether from more just had habitual practices or whatnot, it's this feeling of being boxed into a certain way of being that may not be as true or real. And somehow dislodging from that, like unraveling from that, opening that up, like unfolding and allowing a more true story, like a deeper story led by intuition and soul to supersede that and to be the main driver and to take the driver's seat and to lead the way, essentially. Let the story write itself. Like that is essentially what this podcast and the stories are about. Let the story write itself, essentially letting your higher mind take the driver's seat and decide for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, when you're born, it's like you have a direction for your life already. And that direction is constantly being shown to you. Like it's constantly pulling you. It's constantly giving you ideas and like remembrances and downloads and pulls and just like nudges and insights and glimpses and whatever signs and clues and messages that's trying to get through to you, it's constantly talking to you, it's constantly speaking to you, it's constantly trying to get your attention. Question is, are you listening to it? Are you trusting it? Are you knowing what to do with it? Are you in that zone of self-trust? And I really credit this particular moment from like January 2016, where I made this pivotal decision in this moment where I got on the train and I relinquished activities that I was otherwise involved in. It was really this letting go of this idea of of just letting go essentially, and just being in the moment and just being like, you know what, I don't actually need to know. Like I can just be in that space of uncertainty, of unknown. But in that certainty and that uncertainty in the space of the unknown, there's actually a deep trust and connection, and even like that umbilical cord with your higher self, your soul. So that you're never just like lost or, you know, in space, just like floating around. It's like you're deeply connected to yourself. So it's like this untethering moment. It's like letting go of maybe the falsities or the illusions and reconnect, like allowing more that tether to pull you forward, to guide you. So in this moment, in that particular time was definitely becoming a lot more like returning to that state of home, that being, almost that womb that you come from as a baby, and recognizing that as an adult, right? Because then as an adult, yeah, you're outside of your mother's womb, but you're still connected by that umbilical cord. And so it was really this reconnection with intuition, with inner self, with that soul compass. And this is really what gave me this strong feeling of safety and security and inner peace within myself. And even just unraveling, like an opening of my heart and even spirit, and just like truly being my free spirit itself. I had actually often been called like, or denoted as like, you're such a free spirit, this and that. Cause I would always like, just like I was, who I was always like peeking through here and there. Like even as a child, like it was just so obvious. Like I would always just like, you know, go off on my own or like do this and that. Like I wouldn't go off on my own, but like even if I was like out and about with like as a kid, I would have no problem just like going here. Like I would not need to like say hold my parents' hands or anything, or like really be like too coddled by them or anything. Like I always had a bit of an independent spirit or a very like adventurous soul, and a lot of times had my own way of doing things or would not really just do things for the sake of doing things. So I've always been called like a free spirit, whether it was a compliment or not. But so, who you are is always peeking through. It's just like how fully do you allow it to express and to authentically embody who you came here to be, essentially. It's like your soul has a direction, and you just gotta like know that. You gotta know that you actually have a direction, you have that higher purpose. And sometimes you might get disconnected or from that knowing. um just with all the things that all the noise that might get buried under from day-to-day life, right? On a more superficial or mundane or practical level, that dreamlike quality or that inner knowing, like that state of just being, maybe gets drowned out that from all the noise. So self-trust really comes from this remembrance of who you really are, and that you can actually in fact listen to that inner voice, that nudge, because it's coming from the higher, larger part of you, the part that came through before you were even born, like the source energy from that is like channeled into a human body. You're not a human having a spiritual experience, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And when I share this particular journey that led me around the world, it's not even about, oh, I'm traveling. It's not about that. It was really like this coming home to myself and a deepening of that self-trust and becoming more of that person that I already am and am called to be, living in the moment, going with that pull, not needing that quote unquote uncertainty, because I already have that certainty within me. It's intrinsic, it's innate, it's just who I am. I'm connected to my higher self regardless. It's just my nature. It's just the way of that things are. And you lose that false narrative and that illusion that somehow you're separate or you're disconnected or you're just like by yourself, because you're really not. You're actually connected to a higher order and like a bigger picture. And when you tap into that wisdom, you actually feel very protected and almost like when you allow the universe to kind of carry you on a ride, an adventure, a journey of sorts, it doesn't feel like you're making anything happen because it's just kind of happening of its own free will. It's just happening of its own accord. Like it's that forward motion, momentum, direction that your soul came here to lead and to be. And this is how the rest of the journey really just unfolded. Just like feeling of like I didn't do anything, I didn't plan it, I didn't make it happen. It just freaking happened when I allowed it to happen by surrendering to my inner knowing and intuition and inner being. And it's just it's almost just like this feeling of deep ease, because a deep ease and joy and freedom, because you're not holding to anything that doesn't need to be held on to. It's just you're truly just free and allowing yourself to just be. And that's where you get carried from the moment to each moment. just by way of being. And you're just simply in the moment, okay? You're just in the moment and you're not thinking too much about what's going to happen next or what happened just before. You're just simply more in the moment. And then you get the new downloads or you're connected to your intuitive self. So the next moment comes and the next moment. And it's like every moment it just takes care of itself. You know that phrase? Take care of the moments and the years take care of itself. That's the thing. It's like keep it simple, right? Just be in this moment now. Be in this moment fully and in fully presently in this moment. But that's where the human mind can sometimes get a little bit discombobulated when you're trying to like there's a lot of noise that can kind of drown out that simplicity and that intuitive truth. And when you're able to clear all of that noise and mess and distraction out, life becomes so elegant and simple and free. And you just, I like to just like it's embodied in the title, the phrase, just that life motto, philosophy, way of being. Let the story write itself. Nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to be per se. There's nothing you have to make happen or think about or plan for because it's already there for you. Like it's like you're a flower in a field and like you just simply bloom. You just simply grow. You just simply are. Nature just takes its course. So just allow your life to unfold as a flower would simply bloom as you were when you were a baby in the womb and simply somehow through the 9 months you grew into a baby and then were birthed into the world. Why would you think that that would not continue, that somehow you were now cut off with the physical cutting of the umbilical cord, but you're still energetically connected to your essential self? So just kind of hold on to that notion, keep that notion in mind, if ever you're feeling too caught up in the 3D world and feeling like you're just out there not knowing what or without purpose or direction. Know that there is a direction for your life and you are always connected and you just need to remember that and reconnect. And suddenly you tap into that source energy, as like Abraham Hicks would say, get into that vortex, and then life kind of just simply flows from there. You feel that certain feeling of ease. You're not thinking too much about the future or the past. You're just in the moment, and the present moment is really all there is. I mean, there's so many quotes from like ancient texts or even just like repeated in various forms by so many people in different ways. It's like the same core principles. And it's just the fact that are you actually just living it? Are you just doing it? Are you actually just being it? Are you knowing it? Are you being it? And let the story write itself with this whole journey that I was sharing from like the trip from Vancouver to Toronto and now going Toronto to Spain, and even before that when I was in Vipassana, and then when I was in orientation at uni at 17, and all of these things, they all interrelate to this essential core journey that is about coming home to myself and reconnecting with that innate sense of self and source and intuitive energy. And eventually just knowing that it's letting the story write itself. And this is episode 14. So in the next one, 15, I will probably most likely get into what happens when I get to Spain. So stay tuned for that.